Oh, my sweet little motes of nothingness parading around in bags of meat. It is I, Duncan Trussell, the Skrillex of podcasting, and you have tuned in to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast. It happened. You are allowing the flocks of words flying out of the cave of my mouth to nest in your brain. You're allowing the flocks of words pouring out of my mouth. These flocks of words, the beating of their wings sounds like my raspy lesbian voice. You're letting these things nest in your brain. You're letting them fly into the caves on the side of your head that you call ears. And they fly in there and they nest. And what an honor that you're allowing the word birds of my mind to fly into the cave holes on the side of your head. That really does amaze me, and I'm very grateful to you. I will do everything I can, everything in my power, to only let the good birds fly out of my mouth during this podcast, not the bad words. And I don't mean bad words like shit or fuck or all of those, which are obviously not bad words at all, and they're both crucial as descriptions for essential aspects of human existence. I'm talking about bad words. I'm talking about the dark raven words. I'm talking about the demonic birds that fly out of people's mouths and fly into the caves on the side of your head and infect your mind with a darkness that can cause you to behave in pretty terrible ways. In the old days, flocks of shit words that flew out of the cave of a person's mouth and into the ear cave of another person, infecting their mind with dark thought patterns, were called curses. That was the name for it. Cursing a person. You can definitely curse people. And you may have been cursed. In fact, most, unfortunately, humans on this planet are operating under the spell of a series of very dark curses that came from the words of doom flying out of the mouths of bad magicians, usually completely unconscious of their power, usually completely unaware of the great potency that they wield every time they open up the caves of their mouth and allow the dark language bats, the vampiric, parasitic entities that flock together in the form of shit sentences to go pouring out into the universe and infect the inner sanctum of their fellow human beings' brains. But it happens all the time. It's the fucking TV is one of the number one purveyors of curses on this planet. That thing's a curse machine gun. That you turn that thing on and you will get rocketed into your brain so many flocks of dark ideas and sentences that before you know it, you could be sitting in front of that fucking thing watching your 5th hour of Forensic Files and feeling that the dimension that you are currently existing in is a hell realm. Go out into the world and you see the world through the lens of Forensic Files all of a sudden. You don't see a beautiful, spacious Garden of Eden style planet with color and sound and light, which is amazing to be able to behold. You see a place where if there's a kid wandering by himself, that son of a bitch has probably got a 4-hour lifespan before some trench coat wearing, hook-handed, mustachioid demon comes driving by in an ice cream van, snatches that kid up and throws him in a wood chipper after fisting him for a few hours. That's a curse, man. That's a curse. You've been cursed. Now, sometimes maybe curses are fun. For a lot of people, it's fun to walk through the world and look at it through the lens of danger, horror, awfulness. I think this is the number one reason people watch the news. We get a new curse every few months when it comes to news. There's always a new... Currently, the way we're being cursed is ISIS. A lot of people are stumbling through the world right now who have been cursed with ISIS fear. The fear curse of ISIS. And so there's a lot of people who wake up in the morning and worry about ISIS, and they live in fucking Idaho. Think about that. There's a lot of people who every morning, within 6 minutes of waking up, they start thinking about the dangers of ISIS. They start thinking about the potentiality of some future terrorist attack in some part of the United States due to ISIS. When they wake up, they don't think, holy shit, I'm a perfectly harmonized cloud of atoms capable of orgasm. They wake up and they think, the Islamic Caliphate is at this very moment setting up bases all over Mexico, and they're planning a massive terrorist attack against our sweet country, all thanks to that motherfucking Barack Obama and his insane policies. Oh, God. Where's my respirator? I need a cigarette. They're cursed. These are victims of the dark sorcerers that run mainstream news. And most of us have been cursed. It's kind of inevitable when you exist on that planet. I don't know if you guys are aware of the fact that there's a kind of fungus called cordyceps that will actually get into the brain of an ant, and the ant will climb up on tree limbs and explode this fungus down on his fellow ants, and they all become infected too. Well, in the same way curses travel through generations via the words of parents to children, and those fucking things can go on and on and on and on, and they can get more and more and more and more powerful, and people can just go crazy. Some parents just hang over their children just like those infected ants, and they dust their minds with fear patterns that have existed for millennia. And you might be one of those people who have become possessed by negative thought patterns, and that's called being cursed. What's the opposite of a curse? A blessing. How do you get rid of the weird, shitty thought patterns? Well, there's lots of ways. There's psychology. You can find a great therapist. You can start meditation. It's up to you, really. You just have to decide you want to do it. You have to make the decision. It really is. And I think Alex Gray and Allison Gray taught me this, that you get to pick. You get to pick what window you want to look through. Do you want to look through the cursed lens? Do you want to look through the window that's covered with all the negative sentences? Do you want to look through the lens that's filled with all the dark words that have been told to you by slumbering magicians who didn't realize that they were unleashing demons every time they open their mouth, and those demons have the tendency to fly into the ear holes of anyone who happens to be around and drag their lives into a dark, mediocre state of limitation, guilt, and anxiety? They didn't know. It's not their fault. There was no malice there. They were just infected by a linguistic fungus. You can choose to look through that window, or you can do little thought experiments. You can allow yourself, just for fun, you don't have to believe it for the rest of your life, but just for fun, just like an acting exercise or a little bit of make-believe, you can move your eyes from the window of doom into the window of paradise, and just stay there for a second. Pretty quickly, a lot of sirens will start going off in your brain. All the various curses will start activating. And one of the first things that might come into your consciousness is, if I have hope, I'm going to be disappointed. Ooh, that's a powerful curse. And it's gotten a lot of people. It's gotten a lot of people good. If I allow myself to believe this now, I'll be hurt in the future. It's some variation of that. So that thing will start kicking in. But just for a second, as much as you're able, with your will or however you transform your thought patterns, allow yourself to sit still and imagine that you are limitless, that you can do anything that you want, that you deserve love, and that you are a slumbering volcano of bliss. You know how there's dormant volcanoes? Well, you're a dormant love volcano, and you can, at any second, erupt in geyser pure, unfiltered love into your community, into your family, in the form of selfless action. It can happen. I believe it can happen. Allow yourself the fantasy that it can happen just for a few minutes each day, and then get back to your forensic files marathon. Study the results. Do these exercises and then keep a little journal and write down any change that happens in your life. Write down anything that happens that's different from the usual stuff that goes on. If nothing changes, then you don't have to do the experiment anymore. But if you find that by allowing yourself a few minutes each day to indulge in the fantasy that you're a limitless being that deserves love and is composed of love, who has the potential to radically transform not just your own physical body and psyche, but the lives of the people closest to you, and this creates some kind of change for the better in your life, well, then congratulations. You've figured out a tool that you could use to improve the little flicker of existence that you're currently enjoying in this dimension that we call planet Earth. Hare Krishna! We've got a great guest for you today. We're going to dive right into that, but first, some quick business. People, not a lot of people, but sometimes our parents have done that to us. Sometimes our friends will do that to us. They don't mean to do it. They're not malicious. They're not trying to hurt us. They've just been infected by a linguistic fungus that's been traveling through generations of human beings, and who knows where it started. The main thing is this. The takeaway is this, my friends. I invite you to do a magical analysis, a biological survey of the subjective life forms that you call recurring thought patterns to figure out what beings that are currently existing in the ecosystem of your brain cave are moving you in the direction of heightened states of bliss and happiness and joy and connectivity, and which of these beings are dragging you down into the tar pits of limitation, sadness, misery, depression, guilt, and pointlessness. Just analyze it, and then I don't know what you're supposed to do, but it's a real fun thought experiment to allow yourself the beautiful fantasy that every single limiting thought pattern that you currently have is not an accurate representation of who you are, but is in fact the echo of a curse that's been placed upon you by some dark magician. I don't mean Gargamel, but I'm saying a person who has fallen into the numb ambient haze of modern life and is not paying attention to what they're saying to the people around them. And that could have been your mom, it could have been your dad, it could be your brother, it could be your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife. They didn't mean to hurt you. They just became the accidental transmitter of a dark paradigm that has been afflicting humans since we were being dragged out of our huts by Vikings and decapitated and raped by Genghis Khan. It's a dark time back there, man. We come from a pretty vicious world. We've had some dark periods here, so during those dark periods, people start saying shitty things to each other, and that echo can go on and on and on and on. To quote my dear friend Joe Rogan, the echo of savages. I love that phrase. Anyway, don't let yourself be cursed, guys, and for God's sakes, don't curse. Allow yourself, and you can go right back if you want to, into believing that you're a limited, awful, horrendous, angry, bloodthirsty, selfish piece of shit, if that's where you want to live, if that's where you want to hang out, if that's the universe you want to be in and that's the window you want to look through. I get it, man. I've looked through that window for a very long time, and I understand why it could be fun. But just for fun, pull yourself away from that window and allow yourself to look through the insane window of the alchemist. Allow yourself to look through the window of the practicing magician, the yogi, or the bogey, or the saint, or the mystic, just for a second. You don't have to keep looking out that window if you don't want to. You're welcome to go back and look through the window of doom whenever you want to. You can get right back to Forensic Files. You can get right back to watching Nancy Grace stammer about semen samples. You can do it, but for 1 second, allow yourself to imagine that you are a limitless, super powerful, creative force that, with focus and discipline, can, starting right now, create a temporal wave of positivity that will not only roll through your physical form and manifest as health and getting into shape and having more energy and just feeling good, but will actually roll out of the cave of your mouth in the form of angelic words that spontaneously erupt at odd moments in the day. And those have been called prayer, where all of a sudden you find yourself just saying thank you to nothing in particular or to everything. Imagine, just for a second, that that's what you really are. That you can be a kind of fountain of bliss that goes erupting into this dimension, a volcano of joy that explodes into your particular community. And it can happen in an unexpected way. Just like out of the blue, volcanoes will suddenly explode. In the same way, out of the blue, you can start exploding love into your family and friends and work and business, and not in a bullshit way, not in the phony bullshit way where people explode love when really all they're trying to do is make you feel like a goddamn asshole because they're better than you, but in the actual way, where suddenly you don't even know what you're saying, but you're saying just the right thing at just the right time to the person who needs to hear it, and you don't even know why. And you don't even have to worry about why, but it can happen. These volcanoes have been exploding throughout history. They exploded in the form of Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad, Albert Einstein, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Amma, Neem Karoli Baba, Ram Dass, and it can happen to you. You are the very crest of the wave of existence. As far as we know, you are the most advanced being living in the galaxy that you've incarnated into. And relative to the great universe that you're existing in, you are one. There are not a lot of humans. Sure, it seems like a lot because the planet ain't that big. But compared to the number of stars, compared to the number of galaxies, there's not a lot of us here. You're special. You're unique. You have such incredible power. You're running the exact same biocomputer that gave birth to such things as the theory of relativity, electricity, quantum physics, all philosophical systems, yoga, and anything that any human ever did. You're running that exact same computer. That's you. That's you. That's the kind of power that you have. You can literally do anything. You can be the being that intuits or channels an entirely new system of thought that can transform a huge part of the biomass that you're currently a member of. It happens all the time. Happened with Buddhism. It happened with Islam. It happened with Christianity. It could happen with you. I'm not saying you're Jesus. I'm not saying you're Muhammad. And God, who would want to be any of those things anyway? I mean, I guess if you really like people, I don't know. But you can actually... I see, I'm doing the opposite of a curse on you right now. You can actually, at this very moment, create the first movement. You know, like an avalanche can start with a pebble. Just a pebble moved out of place can hit another pebble, which hits another pebble and creates a chain reaction that creates an avalanche. You can, at this very moment, if you wanted to, move that one little pebble, that one little piece of limitation, whatever it may be. You can just push it a little bit and you could create an avalanche of limitlessness in your life. Whatever that fucking means. You could do it. You could do it. You're a limitless being that deserves love, and you exist in paradise. There, I said it. You deserve love. You exist in paradise, and you have the potential to do anything you want, regardless of what your current situation may seem. And I don't mean this in a kind of like televangelist bullshit way. I'm telling you, read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Study. You got to work hard. I'm not saying if you just lay back and suddenly decide that everything's perfect, everything's going to become perfect. No! The blessing I'm placing on you is a blessing of action. And it's got to fucking start with the realization that you're limitless. It starts with joy. It can. It starts with allowing yourself to go crazy. You let yourself go crazy. That's the point. You let yourself become Don Quixote. You let yourself believe that you're a hero, even if your current patterns of activity happen to be completely meaningless. You allow yourself the delusion that you are made of love. You allow yourself to pretend that and see what happens. Just see what happens. Like a scientist. Study it. What happens if you allow yourself to be hypnotized by this hippie spirituality rant that I'm spewing into your ears right now? Allow yourself to be temporarily lulled into a state of believing that you are incredibly powerful and that you matter and that you can do whatever you want, and anything that you think is limiting you is an illusion. Then pretty wild shit will start happening in your life. Try it. Just do the experiment. If it doesn't work, go back to forensic files. If it doesn't work, find where it does work. Find your footing. Find your place where the thing works out. But just for a little while, go down into the subjective chasm of your consciousness and drive out all the bats that exist there as any limiting thought pattern that keeps repeating in your mind. See if you can do it. Replace them just temporarily and see what happens. It's pretty fucking cool. It's pretty cool. It could possibly result in you changing the way you act. It could possibly result in you beginning to act in ways that amplify and accelerate your physical well-being, your health. It could get you to the gym. It could get you jogging. It could get you to take some class that you've been putting off taking. It could get you to read more. It could get you to start moving in the direction of amplifying your feelings of bliss. And if you want to feel good, one of the best ways to do it is start taking care of your body. There's lots of other ways too. And not all of them involve plunging a needle in your fucking arm or pouring booze down your throat. Though those things will allow you a temporary state of bliss, it's true, they definitely have a high price. There's other ways, my friends, other ways. What did I just say? It's fun. I love you. You deserve love. Fuck it, I said it. God damn it, I fucking said it. Beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. We have a beautiful guest today. We're going to dive right into this podcast. But first, some quick business.